What's up, guys? Okay, clearly I'm not gonna be able to wear my cute glasses that I wish I could wear for you. Okay, just gonna put them right there. So, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie. I am a registered nurse. I work in the operating room and I have my bachelor's of science in nursing, and I also have my CNOR. If you are new to my channel, thank you so much for stumbling across this video. I want to preface this video by saying that I did not make this video for clickbait. I made this video because I want to talk about something that I think will help me cope with what happened to me, as well as hopefully just provide information for those of you that either are nurses or maybe are thinking about nursing, simply curious about COVID-19. I also want to preface this by saying I am not a doctor. I do not know the full epidemiology, pathophysiology behind COVID-19. I just did some research, so it's kind of fresh on my mind, and I wanted to just discuss the question at hand. Could I have possibly had COVID-19 2 years ago when I went through my ICU experience? If you are new to my channel and you have no idea what I'm talking about, you can reference this video right here. But 2 years ago, almost to the day, I was intubated and rushed to the University of Colorado Hospital, where I had developed atypical pneumonia and acute respiratory distress syndrome. I was then intubated for 9 days and had very similar signs and symptoms and pathophysiology as some of these COVID-19 patients are having. So, let's jump in. I took some notes and I just want to review kind of what I had versus what COVID-19 patients are presenting with and how strikingly similar they are. So let's get started. Okay, so first I want to start off with the original signs and symptoms. So I'll go through what I had and I will kind of correlate that to what the COVID-19 signs and symptoms are. I got most of my information from New England Journal of Medicine and a USA Today article that really outlined kind of everything I'm going to be talking about, so just for your reference. Okay, so the first signs and symptoms that I had were a really high fever. So I had a fever of 104 kind of right off the bat. In the couple days leading up to my fever, I guess I'll start there, I had fatigue, malice, just overall general, didn't want to eat, very tired feeling, sluggish. The day after that, it kind of turned into muscle aches, body aches, just kind of all over fatigue and muscle pain. Then it went to the fever. So then I got a 104 fever for 2 days. I was having chills, night sweats, chills so much that my body was shaking, couldn't get warm, had like 10 blankets on me, all of that. So it sounds like for COVID-19, what it's starting out as is a really dry cough, which I never had with my virus. I never had the dry cough. They're also talking about shortness of breath, muscle pain, that kind of same fatigue, like flu feeling, and a fever and a headache as well. So to correlate the two, there are definitely signs and symptoms that I had that definitely correlate with early signs of COVID-19. I also had a headache, which is one of the signs, and obviously the high fever. So they also, in the couple articles I read, it also said that a few patients are experiencing GI symptoms. I experienced severe stomach cramps. I couldn't find any information on like a specific patient or patient population that have experienced the stomach cramp aspect, but it definitely is possible, and I guess that is what it is. GI symptoms can be one of those. I experienced on day 4 severe stomach pains along with a really bad headache. Okay, so moving forward from that, once I was hospitalized and receiving fluids, I continued to show signs of shock. So I had decreased blood pressure, severe hypotension, and really increased heart rate, so tachycardia. The first thing the doctors thought was that I was going into shock. They obviously had no idea why, but I couldn't really find a ton of evidence on those signs and symptoms for COVID-19 also. It's definitely possible that some of these patients are experiencing the same thing. However, that was one of my main first turns for the worst, I will say. From there, I developed atypical pneumonia. So it sounds like almost all COVID patients that end up getting the virus and it progressing to more of a severe stage end up getting pneumonia as well. So what is pneumonia? Basically, it's accumulation of fluid in your air pockets in your lungs, so your alveoli. Sounds like COVID-19 starts your nose and throat, which, you know, most common colds do, and some people it just stops there. For other people, it's progressing down through the throat and down into your lungs. So that's exactly what happened in my case. Whatever virus, bacteria I did have, it progressively got down into my lungs and caused this cotton candy-like reaction in my lungs where fluid was accumulating. My lungs were kind of pulling in fluid from elsewhere and I was no longer able to breathe. So that's where the shortness of breath comes in. I remember feeling like I was drowning in my lungs and impending doom, like the feeling that you are going to die. So that was when I knew that I had hit a really bad point. The reason you get the shortness of breath is because the oxygen to your bloodstream is being restricted, because if your lungs aren't able to oxygenate your blood, which is their main function, to oxygenate your blood, if your lungs aren't able to do that adequately, you have decreased oxygen to your bloodstream, ultimately, which can cause acute respiratory distress syndrome. That is what I ended up having. Almost all severe cases of COVID-19, that's exactly what ends up happening as well. So the ARDS is what happens next, which means that intubation and ventilation with a ventilator is required to keep you alive, to keep your oxygen saturation at a healthy level, to maintain life, and that is what ended up happening to me. So far, it sounds like extremely similar pathophysiology as to what happened to me. Let me just take a pause. Do I think that I was one of the first patients to have COVID-19? No, I don't. I think that if I were to go back and access my charts, and if I were to go back and contact infectious disease at the University of Colorado Hospital, I would be curious to ask them if they thought there was any correlation. Maybe it was a SARS strain, maybe it was some mutation of that. It could also just have been a strange strain of the flu. Okay, back to what happened after that. So with my ARDS, once I was at the University of Colorado Hospital, the next day they tried to extubate me. I found a really interesting piece of data as far as COVID-19 patients go, and it said that they fail, a lot of them fail early attempts of weaning. So what that means is when you try to wean someone, you are taking less aggressive measures to hopefully keep their oxygen at this same level. So you're trying to see if they're healthy enough to maintain their oxygen saturation without the ventilator. When I arrived at University of Colorado Hospital in Denver, the next day they decided to try to extubate me. I obviously don't remember this. This has been filled in from the doctors and my family. So they extubated me, tried to put me on super high flow nasal cannula. All night I was struggling kind of in the 80s for my oxygen saturation. Needless to say, the wean was not successful. So I just found that that piece of information was very interesting and super spot on as to what I experienced that these patients are also experiencing, which is if they try to wean them from the ventilator too early, they are having failed attempts and having to re-intubate. Once they re-intubated me, I was then intubated for another 8 days. And in a lot of COVID patients, it's taking about that long from what I have gathered, some longer, some shorter, but the purpose of the ventilators is to obviously help preserve your lung function. So these machines are helping breathe for you and keep your oxygen at a good level that essentially keeps you alive before you start having more severe body takeover, which can result in kidney failure, other organ failures, obviously cardiac complications, and a whole other slew of things, which eventually ends up in really severe cases to death with people that have tons of other comorbidities. So a couple things that they did with me that were successful. They were able to pull about 2 Coke cans of fluid off of one of my lungs. I believe it was my right lung that was worse. And they basically do it with a big long needle and a syringe. They pulled off a bunch of fluid. I couldn't find any articles that said that that has been working in COVID-19 patients. It's 100% possible. If they still have the pneumonia, it's possible that that can work for them. If any of you guys know, please comment below. I'm sure some of you are going to see this video and have a way stronger clinical background than I do. I am simply going off what I was able to research and what I kind of know from my nursing knowledge, but yeah, just wanted to preface that. I'm sure there are some of you out there that will end up seeing this video that do know a whole lot more than I do, and if I am misinformed, please correct me. I will be the first to say I'm wrong when I'm wrong, so just in case I'm saying anything wrong. I think what's craziest about the virus that I had, I forgot to mention, guys, that if you haven't seen my original video, they never found out what I had 2 years ago. So this, depending on when you're seeing this video, I got sick March of 2018 and was discharged from the hospital early April. So yeah, I think what's most weird about the whole thing is that once my lungs did start to get better and we treated the pneumonias and my body was able to rest, my lungs were able to rest with the help of the ventilator for eight days. I was able to wean off the ventilator. Once I weaned the second time, after they extubated me, I was down to 4 liters of oxygen very quickly, and then after that I was on 2 liters, and I ended up being discharged straight from the ICU. So obviously I don't know specific patient information. I don't know how these patients are progressing after I don't know how these patients are specifically healing after they are extubated, but I know from my journey it was very, very quick, almost startling how quick I was able to heal after being extubated and after my lungs did get that rest that they needed while being on the ventilator. The only residual signs and symptoms that I did have were I had lost a ton of weight. Obviously I lost a lot of my muscle mass, and I ended up losing a lot of my hair, and it obviously took a long time for my GI tract to get back to normal, because when someone is intubated, just like the COVID patients, you most likely are having tube feeds through an NG or an OG tube, and you are getting tons of antibiotics, vasopressors, things that are helping all the other signs and symptoms that you are having, a ton of drugs and a ton of things that your body's not used to. You're not able to eat solid foods, and you're getting pumped with oxygen. So anyways, my GI tract definitely took some time to get back to normal, but other than that, I was able to work my way back to being my normal weight, building my muscles back, and really getting back to a strong lung function. I can exercise completely normal with no signs and symptoms of any type of lung scarring, anything like that. So I don't for sure know if any of you guys do know how these COVID patients, the ones that are healing and have been ventilated, how they are healing. I will continue to let you guys know if I end up getting information on that, but I just wanted to, again, kind of work through this with you guys and compare the two, because it is quite similar, and in a way it gives me some sort of peace of mind knowing that it could have been a virus very similar to COVID-19. It could have been a strain of SARS. What's the strangest thing about what I had is that no one around me even got remotely sick. So with me, I was not on droplet precautions. At the very beginning, I was on contact for, to rule out certain things that they rule out with anyone being admitted to the hospital. But if I would have had something that was airborne or droplet. I think that someone in my family would have gotten it. Any of the nurses I was working with would have gotten it, the doctors, the RTs. So that's what's the most strange about my story, is that Ryan, my parents, everyone that was with me through and through from the beginning of my virus disease to the end, no one else got sick. So, and again, that was without using precautions. The nurses didn't wear masks. My family, Ryan, they didn't wear gloves, they didn't wear masks. So I think that's the most interesting thing, even when I was being intubated and extubated. So, and obviously I'm very thankful for that. Anyways, you guys, I hope that this video, I don't know what I hope this video did. I hope it was interesting for you to watch. I know I've been getting a ton of questions on Instagram and on some of my YouTube videos just from those of you that do know my story. A lot of you have been asking, like, is it possible you had coronavirus? Do you think you had coronavirus? Some of the signs and symptoms sound super similar, so I just kind of wanted to walk through them. All right, everyone, thank you for watching. And if you are new to my channel and you want to stick around, I do a ton of way less serious videos if you're looking for some mindless entertainment during this whole crazy pandemic. My boyfriend and I do daily vlogs, weekly vlogs, some workout videos, home decor, cooking, healthy eating, a whole bunch of different things. So if you would like to continue following along on my journey, please hit the subscribe button down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, which I hope you did. And again, I don't know everything. I only know what happened to me and the research that I did. So please be nice. Let's spread joy, kindness, love, gratitude during this time. I love you all so much, and I'll see you back in a couple days. Bye.